The 2009 KLX450R is Kawasaki's lightest, fastest and most powerful big-bore four-stroke off-road race machine ever produced. Although key components have been inherited from the mighty KX450F motocrosser, including the KX450F's high-powered, lightweight four-stroke engine, this bike is much more than a high-strung racer with a headlight and 18-inch rear wheel. The 449cc four-stroke double overhead cam 4-valve single power plant has been tuned to deliver the best performance at all RPM levels, but especially at the bottom of the rev range, having been tweaked for more low-end torque. It's also been mated to a special wider ratio 5-speed transmission and allows the KLX450R to be exploited hard in any environment and never disappoint. The high-spec AOS inverted fork and superb rear suspension from the KX450F has been tuned for off-road competition also. Like any modern off-road bike, this weapon comes equipped with a digital instrument cluster, a 35-watt headlight, and the bike also comes with an electric starter. Smart engineering choices such as the steel exhaust valves and a reservoir tank-equipped radiator also ensure you will stay on the KLX for a very long time. Kawi knows how to make a bike look good, and the KLX450R no exception. But overall, Kawasaki's fastest off-road machine ever is aggressive and packaged with racing features that back up all the hype. The KLX450R is available in Australia now, so contact your local Kawasaki dealer for a great deal. For a competitive quote on your comprehensive insurance, contact QBE Insurance, the motorcycle insurance specialists. Time to hear what our test riders thought.
What did I know about the KLX450R before I got on it? I knew it was a KX450 beforehand that had been detuned for enduro riding. I really thought that the bike was just a motocross bike in the bush. It certainly got a lot of bottom end power. It revs out quite quick though, so it shuts off pretty quickly. It certainly gets you around the tight stuff in the bush quite quick.
I was quite surprised with some of the bling, we'd call it. You know, nice gripper seat, good handguards, good tyres, good suspension. Things were very comfortable straight away, but once out in the bush, things did change a little. I found it a little hard to steer, and the engine was just a little bit grabby, a bit too much off the bottom end there, and it revs out a little bit too quick, which does make it a little bit aggressive to ride around through the bush.
The ergonomics on the bike feel exactly like a motocross bike to me. I can move around on it quite easily. I never got held up on anything. None of my boots got held up on the plastics or the frame or anything like that. Everything was in its place like all the Japanese bikes. For me, I'd probably change the suspension just to suit my riding because I change all suspensions on the bikes. Other than that, the engine is really, really responsive. It's nearly a motocross bike in the bush, except for obviously having a headlight and a bit detuned.
I do find it a little bit motocrossy, probably because of the engine and the power. In these conditions, you really don't want too much power, unless you're doing this to win, you know, the 4-day, for instance. If you just Joe Blow and want to go for a ride, this is probably a little bit too much.
My overall impression for the KLX450 was I think I needed a bit more time on it to ride it around. It certainly is something for probably, you know, intermediate to a more race-orientated person buying something like this. But in saying that, if you wanted to make it an enduro bike, I think it would be just a matter of changing the sprockets and you wouldn't have a problem with it. Ergonomically, it's fantastic to move around on. The brakes are good on it. The suspension's good on it. You know, it does everything you need it to do.
I think it's really directed at intermediate and above riders. Just because of the power, you have to do some suspension tweaks to suit yourself, which is, you know, a common thing anyway. It's fairly early in its design stages, so I'm sure they'll get the pattern and everything right.
I really believe that if you're going to race it, it certainly is ready to go for racing, that's for sure.
It's time to let the pro go!
Well, the sloggy conditions certainly aren't going to help the time for the KLX. A much slower time there, but a great effort by the Fro. Let's see how he goes for the quarter mile. Will you look at that? The Kawasaki's turned out a time as good as any MX bike over the quarter mile, 8.1.